Hey everybody, this is me, the Undead Viking, and I want to talk to you about this game. It's called Ultimate Rush. Now, Ultimate Rush is a fantasy-themed game that is a real-time puzzle game. Now, I'm just going to talk real briefly about real-time aspects in games. Now, sometimes that can be a hard sell for some people because they don't like the, I guess, like the tension involved, or like, I got a real-time. Like, for example, I have a buddy, his name, he's part of my game group for as long as I can think of, and like one of his favorite games in the whole wide world is Galaxy Truckers, but he absolutely hates the real-time process of puzzling together the spaceship. He likes everything else but that. So like, it's one of those things where it's a love-hate relationship for him. Now, I personally love real-time stuff. I just think there's a lot of fun involved with the whole process of trying desperately to get your whatever the real-time aspect of the game is, trying to race against your friends, trying to like get your puzzle or get whatever the process is that you're going through usually faster than everybody else. However, Ultimate Rush is very, very interesting in the fact that usually, like, when somebody is like, you get done first, like, okay, you get to go first, right? And that's like super important. But Ultimate Rush isn't like that. Ultimate Rush has situations where, you know, going first might not really be really good for you in that matter. Now, a lot of people would say, well, wouldn't that suck then? Because you're gonna have a situation where, I'm done, but I'm not going to do like the last piece of my puzzle or whatever because I want to wait for somebody else to get done first. Ultimate Rush solves that problem by actually like allowing the players to choose the player order. So by grabbing a token. So like you might really want to go third. Like say you're playing a 5-player game and you want to go third. Well, if you get done first, you can take the third player marker, and then you're going third, and you gotta make sure. And then there might be another player that really wanted to go third instead of you, so you want to get it done ahead of them because they're going to take that third place. But you'll understand more when I show you how the game is played. Now, this game is a blast, as I've already said, but let me go ahead and show you how the game is played, and then we'll come back here and I'll give you my final thoughts. Awesome. Alright, so this is Ultimate Rush. I'm going to show you how the game is played. This is a prototype I was sent, a high-level prototype, that is, and the art and the looks of the game I think are going to be pretty much like the published version, but just keep that in mind as I show you how this works. I have set up this as a 4-player game. You can have up to 6 and as little as 2. I have played with every iteration. I found it fun in each one. What you're seeing in front of you here is you have 2 decks of cards. You have market cards and you have monster cards. You'll be using those in every single phase of the game. You have over here turn order tokens, which you'll be claiming as you set up your 4 cards, your 4 power cards that you have, and I'll show you how that works here very shortly. And each player will get a player board like this. Since this is a 4-player game, each person is going to start with 10 health. Say, like with a 5-player game, you would increase that to 12. A 2-player game, you decrease that to 7. Every game, no matter how many players, everybody starts with 1 energy. Also on the player board, you can see there is this little chart here. This tells you what you can trade your energy in on your turn. You can do this at any time. For 1 energy, for example, you can trade in and get 1 money, 1 attack, or 1 health. For 2 energy, you can trade those in and get 3 health, so you can kind of get more health for your money, so to speak. And the 3 is actually interesting. The 3 energy you can trade in and do 3 points of damage to everybody else in the game. This is a game where you can, quote-unquote, die as you're playing. When that happens, you have to turn over one of the 2 markers that you have to show that you've had 1 death, and then if you die again, you turn over another death. And if you die 3 times, which is really rare, but it can happen, you are considered to be out of the game and you cannot win. That's just how you mark those. I should point out that for 2 deaths, you do actually have a negative, and that chart is right here, where if you have no deaths in the game, you're going to get an extra 3 points right there. If you have 1 death, there's no bonus or no negative. If you have 2 deaths, you have a minus 5-point penalty at the end of the game. And then here you can see 3 deaths and you are just out. There is a chart up here that shows the different treasures that you collect, and these are for different types of treasures. So like if you have one kind of treasure, it's worth nothing, but if you have 2 different kinds of treasure, it's worth 2, and so on and so forth as you go down that list. And I'll touch on that again when I talk about how you win the game. Alright, so each person is going to get 4 of these cards. These are the base power cards that you start with. They are going to have 2 sides that have money and 2 sides that have attack power. And all 4 cards are going to be exactly the same. As you play the game, you are going to replace these cards with cards that you're going to purchase from the market as the game is played. You're then going to use the attack power you gain to go through with attacks to the monster cards that are located in that second row. Alright, so this game, as I said, does have a real-time implement to it. I'm just going to push this off to the side here just so I can kind of show this to you. So before you begin, you're going to take the 4 cards, and mind you, you're always going to have 4 of these cards. If you buy one of these cards up here that would replace one that's in here, you discard that one and you have 4 cards. Now technically what you're supposed to do is shuffle these cards up before you go. Now just shuffling the 4 cards are exactly the same obviously doesn't make any difference, but as you get other cards you will make up your mind. Alright, so then what happens is somebody at the table or everybody at the table says 1, 2, 3, go, and then you flip these cards over and you take the time to put them together. Now I'm not frantically doing this like you will when you're playing the game, but as you put these together and you put these together, you will create points for yourself, either in attack power or money, by setting them up in connection. So like this together would give me 1 attack power. If I did that, that would be another attack power, and then if I did this, in this turn, I would get 1 coin and 3 attack power. Now, I'm just going to cheat here a little bit and just take one of these cards just to kind of show you. Now, if you had a situation like this, where you had that 3 and that 1, these 2 don't have to match. Like, the numbers don't have to match. This would, in fact, this is considered 1 and this is considered 3. That would be worth 4 coins and then 3 attack power, like so. It's pretty straightforward, but when everybody is trying to put together their pieces and you're kind of racing along, they can get a little frantic as you're trying to situate those together. Now, there is a kind of a rule, and this is just, I don't know, if the intention of the player is noticeable, like you give them the benefit of the doubt. But it's the creator suggests having a 1 centimeter rule. So like if a card kind of overlaps a little bit like that, they don't have to be perfectly adjoined like that. But if you have a situation where you're like this, that wouldn't count. Or if you had a situation where they're more farther apart like that, that wouldn't count. Depending upon who I'm playing with, whether it's my gaming group or my family, we give each other a little leeway. With the family situation with my children, obviously my gaming group, we're a little more cutthroat, and we'll be more than willing to say, I think that's too far apart, you don't get that. But for the most part, that probably isn't going to happen too much. Now, once you have your card situated in the way that you want to be done, you will then go ahead and grab one of these turn orders. Now, the turn order is important because if you go first, you get to do your turn first, and then you get your first pick of what is out there as far as the market cards and the monsters that you can attack. You also have to consider that there are bonuses. So like if you took the first turn order, you get a health, here you get a coin, here you'd get an attack power, there you'd get an energy. Now, if you are the first person to get your card situated together, you don't have to take the first turn. You can decide, looking at what's out there, like maybe you could say, well, you know what, I would like either of these 2 cards, either that one or, here, I should put that back. I wouldn't mind either of those 2 cards, and I really want another coin. So you could take that, because I've only got 1 coin that I've created, but here I could get 2 coins if I took this, and then now I'd have enough coins to either buy this one or that one, and I wouldn't have to worry about it because of the fact that I'm getting that bonus coin by taking that section. It's important to note that you if you grab one or touch one, no, wait, I want that. It's too late. You've already touched one. You have to take the one that you touched. So once again, that does lend itself towards like kind of, oh goose, like which one am I going to take? And it's customary for like the players to kind of like take a moment to decide what they think they want to do, and then go 1, 2, 3, go when you do this. All right. So now, regardless of what like which turn order you have, when your turn comes, the first thing you'll do is the market phase, and then you'll do the monster phase. The market phase is completely, it isn't mandatory. It's completely up to the players that they want to. It's optional for you. But if you want to do the market phase, what you do is you just, if you show how many coins you have, and then you purchase the card that you want if you have enough coins to purchase that item. So in this case, if we were able to pick this particular one because we had 2 coins, we would take this. We can't use it immediately, but we put it aside like so, and then when the turn's over, we'll discard one of these, and we will then use this. Each player should keep their own discard pile, however, because as you discard cards, and because you've purchased certain ones, there are cards that give you points. Like here we can see, like that is worth 4 points at the end of the game, and this isn't actually like a card that you actually use. This is kind of like you bought this festival or this party, and you've gained fame points by doing that. And you place that in your discard pile like so, and you'd have that at the end of the game. Now, after you've gone through your purchases, and you can see where like if you were picking towards the end and you don't have enough money to buy something in the market, unfortunately, you can't. But remember, you can always turn in your energy for extra coin as per this on that trade basis, and you can definitely and you can see how like if you got the 4th place, you get an extra energy. You could trade in that energy and the energy you have, and you could get 2 more coins just by doing so. So there's lots of different ways. It's kind of like a little like word problem or a story problem that you figure out on your own to try to decide what you're going to do. After you've got done with the market phase, you absolutely positively have to do a monster phase. Now, in this case, I kind of purposely put a boss monster out there. You can tell it's a boss monster because it has this black border and has this black bar right there. Boss monsters have to be attacked unless you have a way to break the rules, and I'll show you a card like there's like a backstabbing card that allows you to break the rules, or that you can avoid that. But you have to go ahead and go through with the attack on the boss monster if there's a boss monster available. All monsters will have a attack power that you have to meet in order to defeat it. You can exceed it, of course, and they have a damage amount that they'll do to you. The damage amount will always be done to you unless you have some sort of way to break the rules. And then each monster will have a reward that you can get as well. Now, so like in this case, if you defeated this boss monster, you would get 3 fame, and once again, you place that in your discard pile after it is defeated. Now, some of them will have different things. Like here you can see like there's like a treasure icon here. There's energy for defeating that one. So depending upon the monster that you defeat, you can get certain things. Now here is an actual, like, remember I talked to you about those treasures that are worth points? Here's one that actually has like that treasure. That's one of the 5 types of treasures that you can get. Now you'll notice as I'm picking these things, you'll notice that as players take these, they are not replenished from these decks. So if you go first, you are taking options away from the other players when you do so. So it is important to note that. But you can have situations where, like there's a really good card that you want to buy that's out there, but you're not going to have enough attack power to defeat the boss monster, and you're going to have to fight the boss monster because of the fact that that card is out there. So you can see, as I said, there's kind of like these little story problems that you have to figure out. You have to kind of figure out that little puzzle of what you want to do in any given turn. All right, so that is how a turn works. Each person's going to, possibly buy a market card and add it to their pile, add it to their hand, if you will, and then they have to fight a monster. And so, like, let's say we fought this, we'd have to take that 2 points of damage, and we go ahead and do that. Obviously, if you ever get down to 0 hit points, that is considered a death, and you would have to go through the process of handling that death. When you do die, you get resurrected immediately, if it isn't your 3rd death, and you immediately have full health, as you would normally at the beginning of the game, and 1 energy. So you kind of get replenished back up, and you can dive right back in. Now, if I had purchased this discard at the end of the turn, I would take one of these cards and I would discard it, and I would go ahead and, you know, look at, I could, you know, I'd have these cards, and now I'd have this as one of my options when I'm going to go through and shuffle out those cards. And then we would go ahead and replenish the lines from these decks, so we would start up the next round and we would see what happened. Now there's a couple of things when you get to the last round of the game. There's a couple of things that happen. Like, you'll notice that there are these cards that have these red borders or these gold borders like that. The last row has to include those types of cards. If you draw any other type of card, like these power cards, they are just not used. Why? Well, obviously because they're not really going to be able to be used going forward, because of the fact that that's the last round of the game. So just keep that in mind, that you will just keep drawing cards off of the market deck until you can fill out that line completely with those types of cards. The other thing, there's a couple of different things that you can, remember I said that you could possibly break the rules, and let me find actually one of these market cards. I mentioned that, like, normally you will take damage from the monster that you fight. However, you have cards that have, like, these things that have shields on them. And notice how when you buy this, you have the option of using it for health or for the shield. If you can, you put that card in front of you and use it as a shield, and the next time you are involved in an attack, you do not take any damage whatsoever from the monster that you're dealing with. There are also some cards that will have this icon on them right here. This means that this is like a backstabbing attack. Now remember, I talked to you about the fact that there's ways that you can get around having to fight the boss monster. Well, if you took a card that has that symbol, then you'd be able to use that for that purpose, where you could, like, pick a different monster and not have to go ahead and deal with that. Now, some cards will have these portals on them. Now, a portal is an interesting card, because if you use the portal, this is the only way you can actually kill two monsters on the same turn. If you use the portal, what you will do is you will draw a card from the monster deck, turn it face up, and you automatically get to kill this monster, no matter what. However, the negative here is that it will do double damage to you from the damage. So you get the points and the rewards for killing the monster. However, it's very possible, if you don't have enough hit points, you will be killed by that monster because of the damage that they do. Two more things. Remember I mentioned the treasure chest. That is not a type of treasure. Remember, there's like the 5 different types of treasures, but there is the treasure chest. What the treasure chest allows, when you defeat a monster that gives you a treasure chest icon, you get to take the top card from the market deck and use it. The only difference is when you do that, and you don't have to pay for it, obviously. When you do that, if it's the bonus is done in the 4th round, the last round of the game, you get to keep drawing these until you get a red or a yellow bordered card. Same as if you were doing the 4th round as normal. The other thing is that the creator has taken the time, and I'm just going to show you quickly, like, it has taken the time to actually give you background stories on the monsters inside the rulebook, which I thought was actually really, really funny and cool. And my kids really enjoyed reading it. So like the Cosmic Mermaid, she steals stars and uses them in cakes, sometimes in muffins too, but mostly in cakes. So I mean, this is kind of a light-hearted game, and it is like just meant to be taken as not like a super serious, gritty fantasy adventure, but no, instead it is like something that is considered to be like a little lighthearted, and you know, and it fits the, like, playing the game for the fun of it, the frantic nature, the fun nature of both the real-time element and then the kind of cartoon-like monsters and creatures that you will be doing battle with. Now, I just, as I said in the intro, I really enjoy games with real-time elements. I think it allows for players to be both frustrated and overjoyed when they manage to put something together. But it isn't just a real-time element game. It has a lot of really intriguing decisions that you have to make before, like, what turn order do I want to do? You know, what, like, can you figure out a way to make going last work for you in that particular game? And things like that, which I've, like, really enjoyed, like, that it goes the extra level, if you will. So not only do I have a lot of fun with, like, racing to get my puzzle put together in front of me, but I also have to then use my smarts to put the puzzle together to finish off my turn. But let me talk about all of that and more in my final thoughts. There we go. Ultimate Rush. All right, so I've already talked a little bit about what I really liked about it in both the beginning and the gameplay portion. But as I've said, the stuff that stands out for me, like really stands out for me, is just that whole the puzzle of. And I'm not talking about the puzzle that you put the pieces together, because because of the fact that you only have 4 pieces, that kind of, I can only imagine maybe like in the development of the game that they had more pieces than that, and I think 4 pieces is the perfect number, right? Because you're just going to move them around, and the thing is that they don't like lock together either. You'll put them out, and you'll be like, oh no, over here, no, over here, and you're always trying to like get them into that cube. You don't have to, right? But if you can get them in the cube and things can match up, and the symbols match up, then like you're just getting more bonuses, right? And I also like the fact that you can't carry stuff over from round to round. So like it isn't like you can have a really, really good round and you can kind of sandbag a little bit and like, oh, I've got like 5 leftover attack power or something, and I'm just going to hold on to that. Now I'm just going to focus on money. And the fact that the game is over relatively quickly. It's one of those games that doesn't overstay its welcome, and each turn is really maximized as far as what you want to accomplish and what you want to pull off. And and I found that like me personally, like I found that like maybe going through with the attacks isn't really where I want to go. Like I want to go with just getting some festival cards, or I want to make sure that I get the best like value for each and every turn. But the big thing is trying to figure out what you think the other players are going to do, and really trying to get like the turn, your turn order figured out. Like I really want to go second, but I can deal with being third. But fourth or fifth or sixth or first are really gonna kind of bog me down. So it's one of those things where I like trying to figure out where I want to be, and I'm trying to figure out where the other players are going to be too. And it's got kind of like those ups and downs, highs and lows moments where it's like you get done and you reach over, you're going to grab the 3 and somebody snags it right before you're able to grab it. And you're like, no, I don't want to go first. But you're forced to go first, and you're kind of like, oh man, I'm going to get totally destroyed by this monster. I'm going to die, and so like I'm not going to get those bonus points. Now there is actually like if like there is a way to like get a dominant victory if like everybody else dies and you don't, like you can win regardless of the points that you have. But that's also one of those things like dying 3 times, getting knocked out of the game. Yes, people are saying player elimination, that stinks. Well, you got to remember the chances of that happening are pretty low. But if people are paying attention and they see people are on low health and they have the ability, to go ahead and like do the damage to everybody else by spending 3 energy, that can happen. And that's like actually one of those things that like you have to pay attention to. And sitting on a bunch of energy when you're getting low on health, when you can turn it in for health, it's a bad idea, because some other players are going to take advantage of that, and they're going to try to grind you into the ground. So like as I said, it isn't just a real-time game. There's all kinds of cool little things going on. There's all kinds of player interaction going on, things that I really, really like. And in a world where I'm playing lots of war games now, I'm playing lots of like deep Euros, that take several hours to finish, and they I have to have a lot of critical thinking and forward planning and everything like that. It is sometimes just so much fun to have just a brain relaxer, and not that this is an easy game. I don't want you to take that wrong way, but it definitely isn't a heavy game. But there is something nice about just screaming and yelling and trying to put your puzzle together, and then figuring out what you're going to do with that puzzle after the fact. So the puzzle after the puzzle, this game is fantastic. And the fact that you can have 6 people play, and it seems to be like the more people you have playing, the better it gets. It's definitely one of those games where you could get those non-gamer friends into your gaming world, and like if you have a large number of people show up for game night and you don't know what you're going to play, and you want to do something while you're trying to figure out what games like the 6 of you are going to bust out, then this is an excellent excellent crowd pleaser too. So there you go. That's Ultimate Rush. It's an awesome game. If you have any questions about it, please ask away. I'll happy to answer those as best as I can. Thank you very much for taking the time to watch this video. I really appreciate it. And as always, just be the most awesome version of you as you possibly can be. We're always going to succeed, and sometimes we're going to fail. But as long as you try, I guarantee you, the more love you give the universe, the more the universe is going to give back to you. Until next time, I'm the Undead Viking. You're awesome. Take it easy.